Good morning, and thank you for tuning in today. I wanted to come on because we have some rather significant weather developments to talk about. We are going to take a close look at a major snowstorm that is taking shape for the mid-Atlantic and the Northeast, and parts of the Ohio Valley will certainly feel its effects as well. Our forecast models are also pointing toward a period of considerable cold that looks to stay with us through at least the first half of December. This particular weather pattern is also creating several chances for snowfall in the days ahead. Now, let's turn our attention to the current conditions across the country. We are continuing to track an active winter system as it makes its way through the region. As we look at the map, you can see snow is currently falling across the Great Lakes, the Northeast, and the Mid-Atlantic, which has been an unexpected sight in a few spots. We are seeing this activity in parts of New York, Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine. Earlier this morning, we also had reports of snowfall farther south across Pennsylvania and New Jersey, where some mixed precipitation is still occurring. Portions of Massachusetts have also seen snow, and it has been coming down quite heavily in some areas. Now, let's examine the forecast models to get a more detailed picture of what is to come. We will start by looking at the European forecast model. On this map, we can see the last remnants of the current winter storm as it moves out of the area. As we move the forecast forward in time, that system does indeed wrap up. We then see some lake effect snow developing again, but it does not look to be a significant event. After this, our next winter storm starts to organize. This next storm begins to take shape as early as the 1st and 2nd of December. This particular image is for 7 p.m. on December 1st, which is just tomorrow evening. We can already see snowfall developing across the plains, the Midwest, and the Great Lakes. Farther to the south, there is also some thunderstorm activity in the deep south, which tells us this is a rather powerful system. I do expect that we will see a number of impacts from this storm. As we advance the clock to the morning of December 2nd, at about 10 a.m., we can see the system becoming much more organized. A center of low pressure is forming over the Carolinas and Virginia. While there are still showers and thunderstorms to the south, the major story will undoubtedly be the significant snowfall occurring from the Ohio Valley through the Mid-Atlantic and on into the Northeast. Moving into the afternoon, we can see the low pressure system strengthening very quickly. This is a sure sign that the snowfall will become heavier as the day goes on. The center of this storm is located just off the coast of North Carolina and Virginia, and it is tracking to the northeast in the classic pattern of a nor'easter. We can see this storm track is very typical for this type of event. After that system moves through, another strong clipper system is forecast for the plains, Midwest, and Great Lakes. This one appears to have the potential to move into the northeast as a more significant snow system, helped along by a low-pressure area offshore. So, while some details could change, this particular model is forecasting a good 4 clipper systems over the next 2 weeks, with another one possibly forming after that. Eventually, that storm system moves out of our region. Now, it is important to keep in mind that this is the European model, which has consistently shown a storm track farther to the south than other models. This particular forecast would bring a mixture of rain and sleet to coastal cities like New York City and Boston. Its southerly track would keep the heaviest snow farther inland when compared to other forecast models such as the GFS and the NAM. Those other models have predicted a track much farther to the north. This means there is still some uncertainty among the forecasts, and we have some variables to sort out regarding who will see the most significant impacts. I expect we will have a much clearer picture over the next 24 hours as more data comes in. Looking beyond that particular storm, by the afternoon of Wednesday the 3rd, we begin to see a bit of snowfall starting to organize over the Midwest and the Great Lakes. There is also some activity over the Rockies and Plains, as you can see right here on the map. Colder air then moves back into the region, and this is where the weather pattern becomes quite interesting. By the afternoon of December 4th, another system tries to form, drawing moisture from a very active southern jet stream. There is certainly plenty of cold air in place to support snow. When you combine those two ingredients, the cold air and the moisture, it often results in another snow system. And that is exactly what many of the forecast models are suggesting. Of course, this particular system is still several days away, so there is a great deal of potential for its track to change. But as of right now, the guidance shows this storm organizing and bringing its first snowfall to parts of Missouri, Kentucky, Virginia, and West Virginia. This would occur during the afternoon on Friday the 5th. As the forecast moves forward, this storm, much like the one before it, is expected to intensify off the mid-Atlantic coast. We then see snowfall beginning in Pennsylvania, New York, and New England by Saturday the 6th, affecting places like Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine, with heavy snowfall before that system finally moves away. I do want to emphasize that changes are still possible, because if this storm tracks farther south, or if the cold air settles in more firmly, the Mid-Atlantic could be looking at another winter storm in early December. This is truly a very active weather pattern. We then see a clipper system moving in right on its heels for parts of the Midwest and the Great Lakes. This would likely be a light to moderate snow event that passes through the area. That system is then forecast to move into the Northeast on Sunday the 7th and into Monday the 8th, bringing snow to areas where that cold air remains locked in place. Almost immediately after that, on the 8th and 9th, another clipper system moves through the region. As a general rule, these are typically lighter to moderate snowfall events. In fact, they are often on the lighter side, so we would generally expect accumulations of mostly 3 to 6 inches at most from these systems. On occasion, a stronger one can produce 6 to 10 inches, but they are not typically major snowstorms. A slightly more powerful system then begins to move in for Tuesday. It is quite remarkable how we have one clipper and then another one right behind it. They are arriving in very quick succession. This next one appears to bring moderate to heavy snowfall to parts of the Plains, Midwest, and Great Lakes. It then tracks to a position just off the mid-Atlantic coast, where these systems can sometimes strengthen again into a nor'easter and bring heavier snowfall. While that does not happen in this particular forecast, it certainly remains a possibility. It comes very close to doing just that. And then we have another heavier clipper system for the Plains, Midwest, and Great Lakes, and this one does move into the Northeast as a more significant snow system, thanks to some low pressure offshore. So there are some variables at play, but this particular model run shows a good 4 clipper systems over the next 2 weeks, with yet another one possibly taking shape after that. That could bring the total number of systems to 5 for the Plains, Midwest, and Great Lakes. This last one also looks like it could become quite interesting for the Ohio Valley, the Mid-Atlantic, and the Northeast. Of course, this is very far out in the forecast, so we must treat this with a healthy dose of caution. However, the overall trend is one of continuous snow events and persistent, seemingly never-ending cold air. We should also mention that the threat of thunderstorms and severe weather on the southern side of these storms will likely pop up from time to time throughout December, which is a bit unusual for this time of year. Now, let's compare this forecast to the GFS model, starting with the major system we are currently tracking. I will move the map forward to the latest forecast, and what we begin to see is this system moves through the Ohio Valley, the Mid-Atlantic, and the Northeast. As you will notice, the GFS model positions the storm a little farther to the north. The low pressure center is also slightly stronger, down to 988 millibars. Because this track is much closer to the coast, many areas in the Mid-Atlantic and southern New England would have more of a challenge dealing with mixed precipitation. After that system passes, we see a clipper bringing some snowfall to the Mid-Atlantic and Northeast. The model then tries to develop another snow system around the 5th and 6th of the month, but this one tracks much farther to the south, affecting North Carolina, Virginia, West Virginia, the Delmarva Peninsula, the District of Columbia, and Maryland, into southern New Jersey with snowfall, with some lighter amounts reaching farther into the Mid-Atlantic and Northeast. After that, we see the series of clipper systems begin to move through. However, this first one tracks well to the north, as you can see, so we do not get that significant second snow event in the Mid-Atlantic. This shows a very different overall weather pattern compared to the European model, which kept the storm tracks more consolidated. With this particular atmospheric setup, the GFS model shows a dip in the jet stream, which we call a trough out in the west. This pattern tends to steer storms up through the Midwest and Great Lakes, which could lead to heavier snow systems for those regions. In fact, this model does forecast multiple major snowstorms with this setup, which also includes a ridge of high pressure in the southeast. Towards the end of the forecast period, the pattern does shift back to a ridge in the west and a trough in the east, so there is some inconsistency there that we will need to watch. We will take a look at the temperatures in just a moment, but first, let's review the total precipitation forecast from the European model. The southwest remains very dry, while the northwest is relatively active. The most surprising feature, however, is the activity along the southern jet stream. This creates an area of above-average precipitation for the entire forecast period. To summarize, we see average to above-average moisture as this southern stream funnels activity directly up the east coast. Also of note is the clear signature of the clipper track, which brings average to above-average precipitation to those northern regions as well. Now, let's turn our attention to total snowfall. The European model is forecasting a decent amount of snowfall for the mountainous west. The Cascades and the Rockies in particular appear to be near average for this time of year. The forecast is a bit more lackluster for the Sierra Nevada mountains. However, as we turn our gaze to the Plains, the Midwest, the Ohio Valley, the Mid-Atlantic, and the Northeast, it is clearly a very active snowfall pattern, with several feet of total snow possible over the next couple of weeks in some locations. This is an extremely active outlook. Now, the GFS model tells a slightly different story. Let me just refresh the map here to be sure we have the complete forecast. There we are. While there is still plenty of snowfall predicted, the distribution looks quite different. We also see a major difference out west, where the GFS model forecasts well above average snowfall for the mountains, compared to the near-average amounts from the European model. That is a significant disagreement between the two. Now, looking at the temperatures on the European model, we have an Arctic blast arriving for the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, followed by an even bigger one for the 4th, 5th, and 6th. Then another major cold wave rolls in for the 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th. Still another may arrive around the 11th through the 15th, with a potential 5th blast of cold air on the way at the very end of the forecast. As you can plainly see, the pattern is clear. It is going to be very, very cold. We are looking at multiple Arctic blasts over the next couple of weeks on this model. The GFS model is going to be similar at times, showing 1, 2, and then 3 surges of cold air. And then we see a warmer pattern developing in the east after the 10th of the month. This has been a very consistent trend on the American GFS model, showing that sometime between the 8th and the 12th, a warmer pattern will begin for the east, while a colder pattern settles in out west. This is quite different from what the European model is forecasting. This new pattern on the GFS model is expected to last for quite some time, signaling a potential change is on the way. The European model, however, shows no immediate end to the cold. Therefore, we will have to monitor the situation to see which of these outcomes will be correct. The combined guidance from both of these models is in agreement for the near future, showing cold in the east and warm in the west from November 30th through December 10th. The American GFS model generally concurs with this short-term forecast. So, we have excellent agreement for this time frame. But as we look further out, from the 6th through the 16th, the American models clearly show some warmer air beginning to enter the east. The European models, on the other hand, are not showing this. For the period from the 5th through the 15th, they continue to forecast warmer than normal conditions out west, and very cold weather persisting in the east. This gives you a complete picture of the differing professional opinions. Both models present very different scenarios once we look beyond the 10th of the month, which is understandable. Typically, about 10 days into a forecast is when you begin to see these major disagreements between the models. This is a classic situation, but please be assured we will get to the bottom of it. With that information shared, that is all for this video. I do hope you will subscribe to our channel. You can also click the bell icon to receive daily notifications when we upload, so you never miss an update. Please be sure to like the video if you found it helpful. I always enjoy reading your thoughts, so please leave a comment below. And I look forward to seeing you again in our next video.